Welcome to Season 2 of Wind Tunnel.
The longest and one of the most exciting Coca-Cola 600s ever comes down to the final corner.
This is, and always will be, the greatest spectacle in racing. This is the Indianapolis 500.
This week on Wind Tunnel.
My crystal ball did not go out 10 years. I did not see a cup race in our future.
Whenever I first started racing, I had finally really started watching NASCAR and staying up to date with it.
As a European driver with minimal previous knowledge of IndyCar, before I was coming here, I didn't really know what to expect. So I was kind of like, this could go either way.
We just haven't had, what we've needed to showcase it. And now we're getting an opportunity to showcase it. It's not wins, but, having top 10s and running well is good. And it's something to build on. And, I've always said this, in order to run top 5 every weekend, you got to run top 10.
Wind Tunnel is brought to you by Advance Auto Parts, the official auto parts retailer of NASCAR. Here's your host, Jackaroo.
Welcome to this post-Memorial Day weekend Wind Tunnel episode. What a weekend we just enjoyed. From the streets of Monaco to NASCAR's Coca-Cola Charlotte tripleheader to the 106th running of the Indy 500 to local racing celebrations across America. There is no question that we race fans were treated to almost all of the elements that define motorsports. Now, I'll try to hit the highlights for you. Charlotte Motor Speedway kicked off the action with Friday night's Camping World Truck Series race, and it looked like my Wind Tunnel guest from a couple of weeks ago, Carson Hocevar, was finally going to bust down the door and score his very first Truck Series victory until this overtime restart.
Carson Hocevar on the inside, Ryan Preece on the outside. NASCAR overtime.
Oh, something happened to Chastain, but there was what I was talking about. Nemechek might go 3 wide. No, look at this. Eckes through the middle.
With a big push on the back of Preece.
Chastain's got to try to keep up. His truck's loose. It's not there. Here's the outside lane. Oh, they're
contact
both
between Hocevar and Preece. Now Chastain coming to the back bumper of his teammate.
He did help him, didn't he? 3 and 4 is going to be wild. He's got big damage. I told you it's going to get wild.
They go. Hocevar is around and the caution is out.
Caution.
That set up a second overtime.
Big push from Enfinger to Chastain to put him out front. Ross Chastain, the leader. Ross Chastain will win his 4th Truck Series race.
When the Xfinity Series took their turn, JRM, Junior Motorsports, continued their dominance of the series.
These guys are racing this.
Oh, he got loose. He's in the wall. Oh, my goodness.
That's a great job by Josh Berry and that JRM 18. That was a dominant day.
Josh Berry, 31-year-old Josh Berry, his 4th win in his 42nd start.
Great car, guys. Thank y'all so much.
63rd career win for Junior Motorsports.
Berry's win was one for short trackers. After all, that's where he came from and took the Advance Auto Parts Weekly Series national title just 2 short years ago. Which brings me to our weekly update on the Advance Auto Parts Weekly Racing Circuit. We turn our attention to PRN's At the Track host, Lenny Baticki.
Thanks a lot, Jack. This is your NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series report. We'll start out at Magic Valley Speedway in Idaho. Jeff Hillock, the winner there. Mason Baggio victorious at Motor Mile in Virginia. New Smyrna Speedway in Florida to Bobby Holly. Jacob Gilley got the big trophy at Rockford in Illinois. Adams County Speedway in Iowa to Brock Badger. John Clayham parked it in Victory Lane at Alaska Raceway Park. Berlin Raceway in Michigan, a big race and a big winner. Bubba Pollard. Bethel Motor Speedway in New York to Ed Dockenhausen, while at Claremont it was Dave Greenslet. Amber Lynn, the big checker at North Carolina's Bowman Gray Stadium. At Hickory, it was Bryce Applegate. Cedar Lake Speedway in Wisconsin to Jesse Radetsky. Steve Bachman got the win at La Crosse. And at Madison, Zach Riddle and Mike Bilderbeck split the victories. Owen Giles and Dusty Mann split the wins at Minnesota's Elko Speedway. Central Missouri Speedway to Jacob Hall. Dakota Gruchala got the big trophy at Evergreen. Sunset Speedway in Canada to Dustin Momberket. Kara Martin victorious at Grand Bend. At Grand View Speedway in Pennsylvania, it was Craig Von Doren. Caden Fissette victorious at Hudson Speedway in New Hampshire. Irwindale Speedway in California to Lenny White. And in Kansas at Lakeside, it was Chad Clancy, while at Salina, it was Tate Coles. That's your NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series report. Thanks for having us, Jack. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Lenny. Which brings us now to the biggest motorsports day of the year. First up, Formula One's annual race through the streets of Monaco. Heavy rains delayed the start, but Red Bull and Ferrari continued their spirited tussle.
That's Leclerc. They're double stacking down at Ferrari. Charles Leclerc, who was leading this race comfortably, came in for intermediate tyres and has had to make a second pit stop. As Sergio Perez comes in to make a pit stop, is Max Verstappen coming in too? Yes, he is. Max Verstappen ahead of Charles Leclerc. Verstappen has got ahead of Charles Leclerc, so both Red Bulls overtaking the two Ferraris.
What a race. We've had everything, haven't we? Absolutely everything.
Sergio Perez, who started in the top 6 here in Monaco for the first time ever, who has led a race in Monaco for the first time ever, who suffered disappointment in Barcelona last time out, and who has rebounded in some style to take his 3rd victory in Formula One. It's Perez in the Principality. He wins the Monaco Grand Prix.
After the F1 race in Monaco, it was time for more than 350,000 race fans to come back home and cheer on their favorite in the 106th rendition of the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis 500.
Connor Daly in the lead for now. Here comes Dixon.
Outside.
An incredible jump from Scott Dixon. Pato
Award.
Award.
Santino Ferrucci. My goodness. Ericsson and Ferrucci, they go into turn 1 side by side.
Oh, Dixon locks up. Is that going to be a pit speed violation?
That's the first hiccup we have seen from Scott Dixon today.
Scott Dixon got caught for speeding, guys. There you go. He's going to have to serve a drive-through penalty.
My goodness.
Unbelievable, Diff. Unbelievable.
First of all, it was Alex Palou entering the pits.
Oh, crash. Jimmy Johnson in the
wall.
And this could change everything.
In the hands of race control, red flag. It's time to bring the action at the Indianapolis 500. Here we go. Who's going to do it? Great restart, Ericsson.
Phenomenal jump from the number 8. Look at him swerving, trying to break the track.
Rosenquist and Award on the inside.
Tony Kanaan is not going to let that happen. Kanaan to the high side on the dirty track. Kanaan hangs on.
And Award is on the attack. Here comes Pato.
Inside.
Ericsson won't let it happen. Phenomenal driving from both men.
Yellow's out.
It'll finish under caution. It's Sage Karam. Marcus Ericsson.
Buddy, you just won the Indy 500.
Marcus Ericsson wins the Indianapolis 500 in the most dramatic way.
After Marcus Ericsson's exciting win in Indy, we turned our attention to the curtain closer, the annual running of NASCAR's longest race, the Coca-Cola 600 from Charlotte Motor Speedway.
The Coca-Cola 600 is underway. Oh,
Suarez.
Briscoe got into the back of Suarez, and he gets pounded.
Dang it.
Oh,
Buscher's upside down. Larson's just going wherever Chastain isn't right now to try to get Chastain looking in the mirror. Try to make him make a mistake right now with only 47 laps to go. Comes a big run by that 3 on 4 tires.
Look out, here it is. He's there on Kyle Larson. Austin Dillon bobbles just a little bit.
Oh, now he's on the outside. Chastain's got him.
4 wide.
Oh, they're wrecking.
Teammates. Busch and Hamlin. Stenhouse to the bottom. Harvick up top.
Hold it strong. Cannot let him up.
Coming to the white flag.
White flag, no help. Either one direction.
Next flag ends the race.
Power move by Denny Hamlin.
He's got no help by 2.
The longest and one of the most exciting Coca-Cola 600s ever comes down to the final corner. Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, teammates at Joe Gibbs Racing, and they come to the line. Hamlin wins by 2 car lengths. What a race.
And there you have it. No question, an action-packed motorsports weekend that saw results that we certainly will be talking about for quite some time. I've put together this week's Wind Tunnel as an episode that I hope will leave you saying, wow, I didn't know that, or gee, that was great to meet that individual guest. Michael McDowell and his Front Row Motorsports Mustang has been on a roll throughout 2022. After his Daytona 500 win and his first playoff spot 1 year ago, McDowell has shown what those accomplishments have done to his performances for this season. Our conversation tackled that benefit as well as Michael's outlook for the rest of the 2022 campaign. More than 10 years ago, Curtis Francois rescued Gateway International Raceway from the demolition ball and started a transformation of the facility into what we now call World Wide Technology Raceway. He and I visited and focused on the finish line of that decade-long development that will cross the line when the St. Louis Area Speedway hosts its very first NASCAR Cup Series race this weekend. Junko's Hollinger Racing is a single-car IndyCar team that has been making a lot of noise this season with their rookie driver from Great Britain, Callum Ilott. I check in with the former Ferrari development driver, and he and I will drill down into his decision to come stateside. And more importantly, how does he and the team rebound from his Indy 500 crash that relegated him to the 33rd finishing position? And you're going to meet an 11-year-old youngster named Wyatt Flowers, who went from watching NASCAR on TV in his Palmer, Alaska home to a rudimentary track built by his dad in his backyard to a championship at Alaska Raceway Park. So you can see we have a packed show. So let's not delay any further, shall we? Let's get this show on the road.
This week's guests are waiting in the wings, and you'll meet them coming up after the break.
Hey, car lovers. At Advance Auto Parts, we have what you need to keep your car running all season long. So if you enjoy getting ahead of the curve when it comes to taking care of your ride, Advance Auto Parts has everything to keep your ride on track to reach the victory lap. Because you can trust the team at Advance Auto Parts to assist you in finding what you need at the right price. Stop by Advance Auto Parts, where you're always number one.
This is how we advance.
Welcome back to your podcast home for motorsports conversation. Jack Arut's Wind Tunnel.
Well, many of us have heard the story about the Phoenix rising from the ashes and taking flight in all of its grandeur. Well, my next guest, I guess you could say, applied that Phoenix fable to what was first conceived and known as Gateway International Raceway. But now, after almost 11 years of blood, sweat, tears, and over $100 million in investment, the Phoenix, that's now known as World Wide Technology Raceway, is going to take flight this weekend, hosting for the first time NASCAR's premier national series, the NASCAR Cup Series. And Curtis Francois, who owns the facility, joins us now here on the Wind Tunnel. And Curtis, I know it was a labor of love, but a lot of folks didn't realize that you stepped into the breach just at a point when Dover Entertainment, which owned the facility, was going to tear it up and sell all the grandstands for scrap metal. And from there, you have built it into a first-class facility that NASCAR is now going to recognize this weekend with your race on Sunday. What a job you and your staff have done there, my friend.
Well, Jack, thanks so much. I appreciate that. When I look at it the way I do, which is one day at a time, putting one foot in front of the other, right? I can't believe it's been 10 years of that now. But us, here at the racetrack, our community, all really pulling the rope together got us to this point. 10 years ago, I was just trying to save a track. ultimately try to make a difference in our community from a standpoint where fans had a place to go and race and participate. My crystal ball did not go out 10 years. I did not see a cup race in our future, but I think most of the sanctioning bodies along the way recognize that we had a little something different working for us here. And it certainly has turned out the best way that it possibly could have.
Well, there's no question that the configuration at 1.25 miles with long straightaways and those sweeping turns, but you brought something up that I think there's an awful lot of race fans don't pay enough attention to, Curtis. And that's the responsibility, I call it the social responsibility, that track promoters have to giving back to the community. And you certainly have been rewarded by the St. Louis Convention and Visitors Bureau for all of your hard work. But you have always presented World Wide Technology Raceway as not just your track, but the community's track as well. Tell me a little bit about some of the community-based initiatives that you've been spearheading since you took over.
Well, it started almost from the beginning. Early on, I met Jackie Joyner-Kersey, who has a center not far from the racetrack. It's 5 minutes from the racetrack. And, through that experience of meeting and interacting with Jackie, it really changed my perspective on what my mission was. Obviously, our mission was to bring racing back to a city that deserves it as much as any. We've been waiting for a cup date here for 25 years. And I can tell you that was something that was definitely on the minds of all the fans here. But along the way, you start to realize that we have a pulpit, so to speak, and we can utilize our success to help others in the community. And through the example of Jackie Joyner, I certainly really started to see that there was an opportunity that we could harness the energy of this racetrack in different ways. And one of those is certainly through our foundation with Raceway Gives, as we're working on STEM initiatives that correlate well with racing and really demonstrating that to the kids that need it most in the area, that we can give them a path forward for a potential career. Not many of them will be drivers, but certainly as we all know, there's so many other career paths within what we do. And it's been great to be able to enlighten some of the kids, and our future looks bright as we continue to do that.
What have you got planned for the fans that show up? And I know there's still some tickets available, but I think by the time they drop that green flag on Sunday, you are going to be telling people that the Enjoy Illinois 300 is sold out.
Well, I think we're on that trajectory for sure. And the sooner the better on that. It's been just really heartwarming to see the fans from around the country decide to engage and spend those hard-earned dollars on our weekend. And I think we've sold tickets now in 49 states. So they're coming from all over. It'll be great to have such a wide variety of folks at the racetrack. But when they come, they're going to see something different. We have our own brand of hospitality here in the Midwest. As you know, I'm sure St. Louis is known for being one of the best sports cities. In my mind, the best sports city in the United States. Right. And you and I could go on and on about that. There has been some pretty good series with St. Louis and Boston over the years. Very similar in the passion for motorsports and for just sports in general. So, to really harness that energy, we wanted to make sure that the folks came and enjoyed a great race. What a wonderful time for fans to come out and experience a race for the first time with the next gen car and the younger drivers coming through all of the great storylines that we have within the Cup Series. But also we wanted to make sure that it's a festival atmosphere. So we have our Confluence Music Festival that kind of came together as really just a gift back to the fans, because there was no additional charge in their tickets. We announced that after everyone has bought tickets for the most part. And so, that is a part of us just giving back to the community and creating energy in a different kind of event. And so many other things with our partnership with World Wide Technology, for instance. We have a brand new augmented reality display on the midway that they made just for this race. So that'll be great as the kids engage with that. And we try to get that type of energy, bring new folks into it. We have an opportunity really to expose the sport to a lot of new folks.
How important is it for you not only to expose it to new folks, but also to create a, shall I say, an entertainment venue that will live long after they drop the checkered flag on Sunday night, and, you know, provide and make World Wide Technology Raceway a destination site for fans, both race fans and non-race fans.
Well, Jack, you're spot on. And I think, you know, that is creating that atmosphere and really creating that understanding within our fan base, which is all over the Midwest, that we are just the Mecca for motorsports and for fun and entertainment. I've always looked through it through my lens. If I'm having fun, I suspect that other people would probably have fun too. And so we really make a lot of effort to make sure that our events feel authentic. They feel somewhat nostalgic, but then we layer in the latest and greatest. We've just installed all kinds of new fan Wi-Fi and 5G carrier service throughout the facility, which just, it takes that modern part, takes that great feeling where families are making memories, puts it all together. And I think it's going to come in a way that is meaningful. And we do hit the target of fans coming and enjoying something special. That's really what we're trying to do.
Well, I do appreciate your carving just a little bit of time out on this very, very, very busy week. We wish you nothing but the very best. Want to see standing room only on Sunday for the Enjoy Illinois 300. And more importantly, want to remind my listeners, and I didn't realize this until I got, you know, some notes on what World Wide Technology Raceway is doing. You are the only venue in the country that hosts NASCAR, IndyCar, and NHRA. Put that feather in your bonnet and strut like a peacock, my friend, because that really establishes a racetrack that is right within the shadow of the Gateway Arch, and we wish you nothing but the very best.
Well, thanks so much, Jack. We're going to do our best. It's hey, one more thing you could add to those sanctioning bodies. We also have an 18-hole golf course, Bit Grass, one of the best in the area. That's layered in. As we went from 170 to 700 acres, we're ready for business here. So we can't wait for the fans to show up and see all the work that's been being done.
There's more Wind Tunnel headed your way after this timeout.
Hey, car lovers. At Advance Auto Parts, we have what you need to keep your car running all season long. So if you enjoy getting ahead of the curve when it comes to taking care of your ride, Advance Auto Parts has everything to keep your ride on track to reach the victory lap. Because you can trust the team at Advance Auto Parts to assist you in finding what you need at the right price. Stop by Advance Auto Parts, where you're always number one.
This is how we advance.
Juncos Hollinger Racing isn't your typical motorsports team. It's led by Ricardo Juncos, a former race car driver from Argentina who raced his way to success in Indiana.
Some memories from my past, some collection of trophies. Our first IndyCar steering wheel we used in 2017 with some replicas of those cars.
This comes after humble beginnings on and off the racetrack.
This is the only pair of gloves that I ever use, and you can see a little bit of the damage with my fingers, but and it's hard, so you can see also some of the grease on the glove because I was the mechanic of the race car as well.
After Argentina's economy collapsed in 2001, Juncos lost everything.
So I saw my dad also losing many times, and my grandfather, by being in Argentina, many times they lost everything.
Forcing him to chase his dreams in motorsports with only $400 in his pocket. Fast forward, Ricardo formed Juncos Racing and has won 5 Indy Pro 2000 championships, as well as 2 Indy Lights titles. Last year, he grew into Juncos Hollinger Racing with business partner Brad Hollinger, hiring 22-year-old IndyCar driver Callum Ilott.
Sean, let's take a look at Callum Ilott here in the 77. Another big release. Look at that. Oh, sign that guy up for Formula D.
Drift. Here we go.
That was solid.
Oh, Callum Ilott, big crash inside at the exit of turn 2.
The Juncos Hollinger Rookie is out of the Indy 500.
Here's your Wind Tunnel host, Jackaroo.
Well, we've done a lot of talking, both here on Wind Tunnel and on Brick by Brick on Sirius XM Radio, about the tsunami-level wave of young guns that have invaded the NTT IndyCar Series. And we're pleased to have one with us now, driving for Juncos Hollinger Racing, an expatriate from the Formula One ladder that's come stateside. And Colin Ilott joins us now. Colin, welcome to the United States. And more importantly, to the world of IndyCars. You spent a lot of your youth in the Ferrari Driver Academy and kind of a driver in waiting, so to speak, for a shot at one of those 10 teams that comprise Formula One. And then you took this detour. Why?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots to that.
Well, let's unpack it.
Right. So, 2015, I started with the Red Bull Junior team. I did 1 year with Red Bull Junior team. And then 2017, I ended up joining Ferrari. And I spent, I think, four years in total at Ferrari. The last year being involved a lot more on the F1 side than previous years. Quite a successful junior career. I didn't end up winning a championship, unfortunately, but I got very close a couple of times, finishing second in Formula 2. I was 2 years in waiting for a Formula One seat that was never going to arrive. So I brought myself stateside with a good opportunity here.
And you're the little team that could. Certainly has captured the imagination of a lot of the IndyCar nation with the numbers that you've been able to put up. Has it been, shall I say, what you expected?
It's hard to say, because as a European driver with minimal previous knowledge of IndyCar before I was coming here, I didn't really know what to expect. So I was kind of like, this could go either way. And seeing Christian Lundgaard come in for that one race and do extremely, extremely well, I was like, okay, hopefully it goes more towards that. But, at the end of the day, once I arrived, I kind of was put a bit more into perspective of like the task that we had as a team. And it was a lot more of a challenge than, for example, Christian coming. So I had to put myself in a different mindset that results, hopefully will come, but that's not the goal right now. The goal is to build up the team and find what I need to be successful, and then put that together, hopefully over a little bit longer time. And I would say the beginning of this year has been a bit more difficult, because I thought we would hit the ground running a bit more at the street circuits, and unfortunately we didn't. But then coming into Barber, I think a couple of things clicked. Maybe it was more because it was a road course and we got the style a bit better with the car. But that was a bit more rewarding. That was a bit more where I felt like we should be and had the potential to be. And of course, I think that opened a few people's eyes as well to the potential of the Juncos Hollinger car.
I think people tend to forget it's a one-car team, but more importantly than that, they're building and assembling the support staff that's necessary while you're drinking out of a fire hydrant trying to transition your racecraft. So you're all kind of in the same boat. And it looks to me, at least, that you're all rowing in the same direction.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously trusted me and saw, I would say, a lot of talent. I've always been known for my raw speed. And then, of course, the last 2 years I've just spent developing, simulators and F1 cars and stuff. So I think that they saw potential from that side. But yeah, this IndyCar stuff's a lot more pure, in the sense of it's just, you've got to get everything out of it. But you see, we're a one-car team. We're the only one-car team. We're a rookie team with a rookie driver. It's a lot of work. And I don't know how many other drivers would have the patience or whatever to do it. But I think for me, I was like, okay, if at the time, if the F1 stuff isn't going to work, I want to build a long career somewhere where I'm noticed, where my talent can show in a single car. And I think for me, it's if I get this whole environment to work and we can consistently, put results equivalent to the speed of Barber on the table this year and then build off of that, that's a lot more rewarding than jumping in something that's strong and, finishing top 5 or more often. I think if we can build this team up, I hope I would be respected even more in a certain sense.
I want to go back because I would have to assume, based upon your credentials, that you really hadn't ever driven a race car on an oval. Most people that come from your legacy basically sit there and say, these people have got to be crazy to be just going at that speed, turning left. And yet there are others that I recall just absolutely took to it like a duck to water.
I don't love it and I don't hate it. I think I like the races. I find the testing a bit tedious because the risk versus reward is obviously ginormous in the sense that there's minimal reward. You have a good test day or you either have a really bad test day. You're always learning something. So I find that a bit mentally a bit strange to get my head around. But of course we all end up testing and doing it. Texas was a bit of a baptism of fire. It was...
Well, that's an understatement. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a super fast track that, you have to just, even if you're not comfortable, you have to just go, okay, fuck it in a certain way and just send it. And to be able to keep up. And then you kind of put yourself straight out of your comfort zone to kind of be in a comfort place, because if you're getting past left, right, and center because you're taking your time, you're going to be even more worried than if you're just going for it and sending it. So yeah, I think we learned a lot from that weekend, even me, of how I wanted the car and what we could do. And I think overall it was a solid weekend. We weren't quick, but it was solid, to learn a lot of things. So when we came to the IMS test, I felt a whole lot more comfortable. I knew a lot more about what I wanted from the car.
All right, let's go back now for a minute. And you talked about coming stateside and making the adjustment in terms of racecraft and race team and all of that. I want to know about the adjustments that Callum Ilott had to make to a lifestyle. Look, we're called ugly Americans for a reason. We're not European. We have no manners whatsoever. So was it a difficult transition, or did you feel a sense of relief that you could maybe let your hair down a little bit?
So a couple of things. So I moved out of the UK when I was 18. I went to live in Italy by Ferrari for almost, I think it was 4 years. Which beautiful food. I didn't really speak the language, so it was quite tough. But yeah, very, very racing orientated. So coming here was quite a relief to go back to my own language and, to be in that makes it a bit easier and a bit more comfortable. But yeah, coming here, I mean, I've always loved the US. I grew up when I was a lot younger, 2.5 years in Philadelphia with my parents. My dad lived in Chicago more recently for 2 years. So the US has been always like a place I've wanted to stay a bit longer and a little home in my heart in a certain way. And I got a lot of friends here, which is always nice when I'm traveling. I can go and see some people. But yeah, in terms of adjustment, I have to say the US, I suppose in one way it's a very good thing, and in another way it can be a little bit bad depending on what way you look at it. But you can get away with whatever you want here in terms of like no one judges you. You can wear what you want. You can do and kind of say what you want to a certain extent. And yeah, it's just so diverse. So I say in one way that's the beauty, in another way that does cause some issues. But yeah, it's quite entertaining, to be fair.
I can see it now. Callum Ilott, liberated at last.
Maybe land of the free. Maybe I fit well in that.
When you look at the way someone like you has been forced to travel, to get away from home, to leave England, go to Italy, now to the United States, I've always believed that at a young age, that can be beneficial and make you appreciate things maybe a little bit more. What about you?
Of course, it's always been my life. So I can compare it to friends of equivalent age. So I would suppose I had to speed up my aging process a bit and skip out on a few things along the way. To be able to deal with it. So like when I was 12, I spent my whole summer holidays in a van with 2 mechanics traveling around France and Germany. So I didn't really, go to the kids' birthday parties and all of that. And I was learning things that I probably shouldn't have learned at that age, which is a good thing. I enjoyed it. But now I think some things catch up on me of like, I want to go and do that, or I'm starting to get old. And obviously I'm not old, but I'm like, okay, there's only a couple more years of like ultimate fun, where you can kind of get away with it. But yeah, I think overall it's been a great thing in the sense, even stuff like this I was doing from 16 years old, that you learn to speak with people, you learn to have like a, should we say, professional media side of you, which makes you very good in certain situations. I would say my friends always, like, I would help them with job interviews because of the kind of confidence that maybe I would have that they wouldn't have, and I would treat it more as a conversation with someone's boss than being interrogated. And they always found it fascinating how I could do it and introduce them to people and not worry about it in that sort of sense. So yeah, it definitely helped me progress at rates that other people wouldn't. But then sometimes I am a bit of a child, so
There's nothing wrong with that. Listen, we are so happy that you decided to come stateside and join the IndyCar Nation, and wish you the very best of luck. I will admit, with Netflix, I tend late at night to binge watch British television. And there are a lot of terms that are considered derogatory here that are just bandied about. So I kind of envy you Brits in that regard. The C word, especially, if I ever uttered that here in the United States, where it's basically, as I understand it, kind of a reference to, somebody that's I'll use another one, a wanker.
Yeah, I mean, the C word is that's probably the worst one. We don't really use it that much in certain areas of the UK.
Well, you use it for effect.
Yeah, it's not as used in certain areas. It's used a lot more, but where I've been, and you wouldn't use it much. That's if you really want to insult one. But yeah, the terms like wanker and stuff, yeah, that gets thrown around a bit. That's a common term. It's more of a joke.
Look, best wishes and continued success for, as I call it, the little team that can, not that could, that can. And we appreciate your visiting with us today.
Thank you very much.
As I get ready to drop this episode of Wind Tunnel, this update concerning Callum Ilott and the results of this crash at Indianapolis.
Oh, Callum Ilott, big crash inside at the exit of turn 2.
The Juncos Hollinger rookie is out of the Indy 500.
After further evaluation of Callum Ilott from the injury that he sustained during that crash, IndyCar officials have determined he will not be cleared to drive this weekend in the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix. So the super sub, Santino Ferrucci, will replace Ilott in that 77 Juncos Hollinger Chevrolet for this one event.
Coming your way after the break, you'll meet a NASCAR short track hero when we bring you this week's Advance Auto Parts Victory Lap.
Hey, car lovers. At Advance Auto Parts, we have what you need to keep your car running all season long. So if you enjoy getting ahead of the curve when it comes to taking care of your ride, Advance Auto Parts has everything to keep your ride on track to reach the victory lap. Because you can trust the team at Advance Auto Parts to assist you in finding what you need at the right price. Stop by Advance Auto Parts, where you're always number one.
This is how we advance.
Man, this is for all those guys. There's a ton of them out there that are like me, that have won here and all these great short tracks around here. We can do it. We just need the opportunities. Today proved it. Yeah, it's a short track, but it's still damn hard to win here, and we did it.
They are hometown heroes, drivers who put their passion on the line in front of their friends.
Here we go, 3 wide, got Sellers up in the marble.
Halfway home in this one.
Off turn 4, he heads for the checkered flag.
Here comes Riggs. Riggs is back at it on the inside.
Buckle up and hold on tight.
Time now to focus the spotlight on hometown heroes with this week's Advance Auto Parts Victory Lap. Brought to you by the NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series, driving local racing in local communities forward. Here's your Wind Tunnel host, Jackaroo.
Well, taking the Advance Auto Parts victory lap is an 11-year-old champion. Now, he hasn't quite made it up to the NASCAR level yet, but he hails from Palmer, Alaska, and he competes and has already won a championship at Alaska Raceway Park, the only Alaskan racetrack in NASCAR or in the entire state. Wyatt Flowers joins me here on Wind Tunnel. Wyatt, first of all, congratulations on that Bandolero championship. That's a check box number one in your hopes to someday land that Camping World Truck Series ride. So tell me a little bit about how you got started, because as I understand it, you and your dad had built a racetrack in your backyard and started racing go-karts. Is that right?
Well, it was a razor, they call them. It has a roll bar, and it goes 25, 30. And I kind of just, around our house, there's just this little gravel and dirt drive to go around just to turn around the cars. And I have been racing on it with my razor and stuff. But what really got me into racing is I had always collected toy cars like Hot Wheels whenever I was little. And my dad had told me about whenever he raced in dirt. And whenever I first started racing, I had finally really started watching NASCAR and staying up to date with it. That's what kind of that's how I kind of knew what the Truck Series was, because I didn't really know what the Truck Series was. Besides, it was just trucks racing. But now I've gotten to know them, and my favorite driver's in there.
And your favorite driver is Haley. Why do you like Haley Deegan?
I don't know. I just like how she races. She's really clean, and she's not rude. Like I said, she's a nice person, and I just like to watch them race, and I kind of just started watching her race because I always have liked Fords and trucks a lot, and it kind of drew my attention to the Fords. And I was watching the big guys race, and then I watched the trucks and stuff, and I saw Haley Deegan and how she's a really nice person.
So you go from your backyard with your razor. Your dad comes up with a Bandolero that decides to take it to Alaska Raceway Park. That's a big jump, young man, to go from the backyard to a for real racetrack. Tell me about the first time that you were on the track with that Bandolero car. What'd you think and how'd you feel?
Well, I was actually feeling pretty good. That the first time I went out there, I wasn't going as fast, but I know something was kind of wrong with my car because it was a really old car, and we pulled it out of a foot of snow. And I was just going around, and they said keep to the really low line, so I was doing that for the first few weeks. But then I was watching one of the faster guys, Trent, and I was seeing how he was going up to the higher line, and my dad would tell me, try out this line and stuff. So I try it out. And then actually there's this guy, his name is Tyler. He used to drive my car maybe 10 years ago. I don't know. But he was asking me how the car feels, and he knew it was kind of loose for a setup. And he was telling me kind of what lines to use and stuff. So.
Now, the Bandolero series was introduced 1 year ago, and because of the car count, understandably being as far removed from Charlotte, North Carolina as Alaska Raceway Park is, you had to compete against, a lot of older drivers. I believe Bandoleros, you can compete up until 15, 16, 17 years old. And at age 11, you dusted them all off. You won the very first title. How did that feel?
It felt really good. it actually got rained out on that last race, and I couldn't exactly like process, okay, I just won the championship. We got rained out. It was really crazy, but I didn't understand at first. It just came so quickly to me. So it felt really good. I had tried really hard that year, not to win, just to have fun and do my best.
Well, I see your dad joined you, and John, I got to ask you, how proud were you to see your son, first year, he still had the rookie stripes on the back of that Bandolero, and he smokes them.
Well, I was definitely proud, but we were proud of all the kids from where they started, with them all being rookies and just all the improvements through the year that, all the kids did an excellent job, and we were just fortunate to come out on top. And I think that the one thing that I know Wyatt did is we practiced a lot, and his little car was there when they opened the pit gate to practice. And I mean, he would put 100 laps in a practice, and he definitely put the effort in. And I just tried to give him a car that would stay under him and let him do his, just learn and progress. And he did it. So.
Well, the other aspect to it too, John, is the relationship that you get to share with your son, because it goes deeper than just being a dad. It's a brotherhood, as you know, having been a former racer yourself. They call it the racing fraternity, and now you understand what he's saying when he gets out of the car, but he also understands what you're telling him he needs to do. And that's kind of a very unique bond between not just a father and a son, but a crew chief and a driver.
Oh yeah, it's definitely, and especially this year, we practiced and before, and he can tell me a little bit more now and understand some of the terms, and he did a lot of work with me over the winter. We redid the car, and he did some painting, a lot of the stickers. He wanted to be a lot more involved. And so I just kind of let him do as much as he can, because it's bigger than racing. It teaches him so much about life, and as much as he's willing to take responsibility, I will give it to him.
So Wyatt, when you go off to school, do your classmates know that you're a championship race car driver?
I don't talk about it that much, but they know that I'm a race car driver, and some of them say that they're impressed what I can do. I actually got a picture put up in it's like a glass frame, and it's from my first win, and it's at school in the office, and they'll pass by going to the music room and say, or they'll just be like, "Good job, Wyatt," if they're close to me, or they'll think that whenever they're not close to me.
Well, Wyatt, I have absolutely zero doubt that along the way, with the help of your dad and the rest of your family, that you won't attain that goal, that dream that you have to maybe land a Camping World Truck Series ride. I just last week interviewed Carson Hocevar from the Camping World Truck Series. And, the first time he drove a full-bodied late model was he tested the car at age 12. So it can happen. And you just keep up the good work. Make sure that you do well in school. You listen to your family, especially your crew chief there, your dad and your car owner. And I have no doubt, probably just sooner rather than later, you'll be moving from Alaska to the heartland of NASCAR in North Carolina, because you'll have landed a full-time ride in the Camping World Truck Series. But I do wish you the best of luck at Alaska Raceway Park this year, and go get another championship.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Advance Auto Parts Victory Lap, brought to you by the NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series, driving local racing in local communities forward. Next up on Wind Tunnel,
Michael McDowell has won the Daytona 500.
Woo! Thank you! Wow!
Michael McDowell, his first career NASCAR Cup Series win in the 63rd running of the Daytona 500.
For so many years, I've just been grinding it out, trying to stay in the sport. Not everybody makes it to victory lane. And, for 14 years I didn't. So just to be here now is just so amazing. Daytona 500, are you kidding me? I cannot believe this. We're the Daytona 500 champions.
Hey, car lovers. At Advance Auto Parts, we have what you need to keep your car running all season long. So if you enjoy getting ahead of the curve when it comes to taking care of your ride, Advance Auto Parts has everything to keep your ride on track to reach the victory lap. Because you can trust the team at Advance Auto Parts to assist you in finding what you need at the right price. Stop by Advance Auto Parts, where you're always number one.
This is how we advance.
Welcome back to your podcast home for motorsports conversation. Jackaroot's Wind Tunnel.
McDowell the run on the outside with a little help from Hamlin.
We know the caution was out there. We saw some caution lights where Michael McDowell and the 3 of Austin Dillon pulled ahead of Chase Elliott.
And Michael McDowell from Glendale, Arizona, for Bob Jenkins' Front Row Motorsports, has won the Daytona 500. How about that?
Well, the last time this guy visited the wind tunnel, there was still a shine on the Harley Earl Trophy. There was still so much talk about his incredible last lap victory in the biggest race for NASCAR, the Daytona 500. We're talking about Michael McDowell, who returns to the wind tunnel maybe a little bit more than 13 months after what arguably was the biggest win of his career. Michael, it's good to have you back. The afterglow of being a Daytona 500 champion. I've watched you all this season, and you and your team, it's as if that was the power boost that you needed to become even more competitive.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, our team has been on a nice, trajectory here the last, 3 years. And, every season we've been getting a little bit better. And then I think that, the win last year at Daytona was that kind of that catapult that took us to the next level and, gave everybody the confidence and the momentum. And then also too, the financial effects of it, being a small team, when you win a race of that caliber, and it puts you in the playoffs and it does all those things, it's helped us tremendously financially, where we can put more resources towards people and race cars. So it was definitely a momentum shift when we won the 500. And, this year coming into a new season with a new car, with the next gen car, it's been a pretty solid season altogether. I mean, we've had, 4 top 10s and been running, near the front, every weekend. So it's been good. I feel like we have a good program here at Front Row. You always want to be better and you always want to be contending for wins, but I think we're slowly getting to a place with this next gen car that we can put ourselves in the conversation.
You were a guy that kind of knocked around until you got to Front Row. Things kind of turned around, and you, like a lot of drivers, decided to put in with a team that you felt you could contribute to their rise up the ladder. And I'm interested in just psychologically how that has affected your driving style.
Yeah, I think it's kind of just in my DNA. I've always been a part of building something, even from early on. I've always liked to be at the shop and working on things and being a part of it. So that's kind of just my own MO, and kind of the culture that I have. And so being at smaller teams and being sort of that lead guy that kind of helps lead that charge is something that I've enjoyed. And so that's always been a part of the process and the journey for me. And as far as what it does for me on the racetrack, I feel like when you build that bond with your guys and you're a part of it more than just showing up once or twice a week and, kind of checking the boxes, when you're, really involved in the process, you care about the people more and you want to see them do well and you want to do well and you got each other's back. And a lot of that has, a big ripple effect of how you approach everything. And so it's one thing to be motivated, for your own goals, and we all are. But when you feel like, you want to do well because your guys have given you everything that they have, and they've sacrificed time with their family, and they're missing their kids, birthday parties on the weekends, and all that matters. And so you don't want to leave anything on the table when you know that, there's so many people sacrificing for you.
Now that we're 13, 14 months removed from the jubilation, and you can reflect back on it with your team, by the way, because it was their first Daytona 500 championship. What do you best remember now that you've gotten through the calendar, maybe a little bit more clarity? What's the biggest takeaway for you in Front Row from that night in February, now more than a year and a half ago?
Yeah, I think it'd be hard for me to pinpoint one thing. I feel like there's a lot of takeaways. When I think about it, I think about getting to the airport and seeing all my friends and family and what that meant. That was a big part of it. Being in tech at 6 a.m. with my guys and the sun coming up and realizing that we won the Daytona 500. It was an awesome moment that you'll never forget. There's so many of those, going back home to Phoenix and seeing, a lot of my friends and family there, and my dad and my brother and so many people, growing up racing go-karts and formula cars that sacrificed so much for me to have those opportunities. So, throughout the year, there was those little moments that were just great reminders. And so, and then even at the shop, there's guys in our shop that, would come up and tell me, man, I've been in this sport 30 years. This is my first Daytona 500, and what it meant to them. And so the ripple effect is really big. I think that's the biggest thing that took me back, was how many people it affects and the ripple effect that it has in a positive way. And so that changes the mindset. Your mindset's always the win, but when you see what it actually does, it just ramps that level of intensity and importance of winning a race and what it means. So
enough looking in the rearview mirror. Let's project and let's take a look what's coming out through the windshield, because this 2022 campaign for you and Front Row has been on a steady upward trajectory. And I'm interested because there was so much talk, Michael, about the introduction of this next gen car that it was going to level the playing field. And you alluded to it earlier in our conversation here, that as a small privateer team, this single source concept has maybe actually made you even more competitive against the superpowers that sit atop the pinnacle. Well, can you give me a couple of specifics where you feel this next gen car has helped teams like you?
Yeah, for sure. I think that, to give a very generic summary to that is, in the last few years with the previous generation, I would say that, the top teams are making 200 or 300 pounds more downforce than we ever could. And they're holding 200 or 300 pounds more lead than our race cars could. So having a single source supplier on the chassis and the bodies and the suspension pieces and all the way down to the bolt length, right, is, we don't have mass manufacturing at Front Row Motorsports and 3D printing capabilities. And we're not able to, produce titanium parts like, the Penske's and Joe Gibbs and Hendricks of the world. So now we don't have to. And we're able to have a lot of the same bits and pieces. But Jack, the deal. Racing's all about people. And so those top teams have the top people, and they have more of them, and they're always going to be the best. You see it in the IndyCar series with, single suppliers. But I always look at, Del Coyne and Rick Ware, and I go, man, on a given day, you give them a good strategy, a good driver, and they hit the setup right, they might win. And that was my hopes with the next gen car, is that on a given day, if we hit it right, we will have the bits and the pieces to put it together. And I think we're seeing that. Now, it's not going to change. Team Penske's going to win races. Hendrick's going to win races. Gibbs are going to win races. And they're going to win majority of their races throughout the season. But on that given Sunday where you hit it right and you get the strategy right and the pit stops go your way and you got your setup dialed in, you want to at least have a fighting chance. And I think the next gen car gives us that fighting chance.
You talk about a fighting chance. It just as an outsider watching it, Mike, it looks to me like it's far more rewarding for you as a driver to take a chance, maybe carry it in a little bit deeper, knowing that with a composite body, you're not going to have to come in and change a tire. But more importantly, I'm not saying that these cars are forgiving, but what it's almost like it gives you an injection of adrenaline to maybe go outside the boundaries, even if it's just for a split second or for a single lap. How about inside the car?
Yeah, it's been fun. You got to push yourself hard and learning new techniques too. You know, this car is so different than, you know, all the previous generations of Cup cars. So, you know, you're having to learn new techniques. You're having to, you know, reprogram some of that muscle memory that you have. And so it's been fun and challenging. I think that you can be aggressive with this car. The window is smaller in regards to, you know, how far you can slide it and yaw and all that. You know, we see a lot of guys spin out more, right? But that's also, like you said, it's given it a little bit more reward, right? Where if you go and you put it on the line and you squeeze a little bit more out of it, it's worth a bit more than it used to be, because everybody could kind of get to that limit because the cars were pretty forgiving and they had a lot of side force, and now they're not. And so I think that, you know, it's been fun to challenge yourself and to, you know, figure out what you need and feel, and, you know, with the bigger tires and wheels and, you know, just the suspension, it all feels so different that you're having to relearn that too. And so it's been good. You know, it's been fun for me. You know, I think that this has helped me to, you know, people look at our team and myself as a super speedway and road courses, and which is great because that's our history. But I always knew that going to Dover and Darlington and Atlanta and those places, I'm still good there too. We just haven't had, you know, what we've needed to showcase it. And now we're getting an opportunity to showcase it. It's not wins, but, you know, having top 10s and running well is good. And it's something to build on. And, you know, I've always said this: in order to run top 5 every weekend, you got to run top 10. And if you run top 5 and you run top 10 every weekend, you are going to give yourself a shot at winning a race. You can't do it from 25th every week. And so we're putting ourselves in that position where we have a shot at it. And if we can continue to do that, who knows?
Well, there's no doubt in my mind that the reward is there. It's just dependent upon just how soon it'll come. There's only one weekend off this entire NASCAR 2022 season. So what's the honey-do list like at home?
Yeah, you know, I try to get as much done in the off season as I can, because once our season gets rolling, even with that week off, you know, it's you don't have much time. So, you know, I don't mind the schedule. I mean, I'm sure, you know, I mind it for my guys. I really do, because, you know, being a driver in this sport, it's what you want to be. I mean, I have a lot of free time and freedom to do things during the week where they're grinding it out at the shop and they're on the weekends. And so, you know, the schedule's grueling for them. I like the consistency of being in the car every week and getting into that momentum. So yeah, you know, this off season was shorter than most because we were testing and we had more testing and new cars. And so that made it feel a little different this year. So I think everybody's looking forward to that off week and you just kind of recharging. And, you know, I think that this season has been a struggle for a lot of teams and the team guys, just because all new processes, all new parts, all new pieces, everything that you used to do is different now, you know, from every aspect, setup plate, how you scan the cars. And so everybody's had to probably put in more hours and work harder this year than they have in years past and learn new things. And so this is that year where everybody's kind of got their teeth kicked in a little bit, but hopefully we're into that time of the year where we have some parts now, we have some inventory built up, and it won't be grueling for the guys, you know, through these summer months.
Where does Michael McDowell prominently display his 2021 Daytona 500 trophy?
Yeah, so when you walk in the front door, we got a little foyer there, and got a table that it sits on, so you can't come into my house without seeing it. Yeah, it's kind of its home for right now.
Well, that's okay, but I do think it's carrying it to an extreme when on the front door it says, "Please, as you enter, refer to me as champ."
That would be next level for sure.
Well, you're taking it to the next level. I do appreciate your visiting with us. Continued success, and you're going to get that checkered flag, the second one of your career, and you and your crew can celebrate like you did in Daytona. Michael, thanks so much for joining us here in the Wind Tunnel.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Time to close things out for this week. And now I will do that next.
Hey, car lovers. At Advance Auto Parts, we have what you need to keep your car running all season long. So if you enjoy getting ahead of the curve when it comes to taking care of your ride, Advance Auto Parts has everything to keep your ride on track to reach the victory lap. Because you can trust the team at Advance Auto Parts to assist you in finding what you need at the right price. Stop by Advance Auto Parts, where you're always number one.
This is how we advance.
Well, we covered a lot of ground this week, and I hope that you enjoyed the show. We'll return next week with yet another opportunity to bring you a look behind the motorsports curtain and feed your racing appetite. Hey, thanks for checking in, and I hope that you'll be back next week for another episode of Wind Tunnel.
You've been listening to Jackaroot's Wind Tunnel. Wind Tunnel is brought to you by Advance Auto Parts, the official auto parts retailer of NASCAR. Follow us on our social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And be sure to subscribe to Wind Tunnel's YouTube channel, where you'll discover bonus content. I'm Lenny Baticki of Performance Racing Network's At the Track Show, saying thank you for joining us today. See you again next week.